Hello Year 10, this is Miss Gossage again and I'm going to talk to you about another element of the marketing mix. So you've already done product and you've done price, and most recently you did price elasticity. So the next question is, how often do you buy something directly from the person that made it? So think about all the things that you have bought over the past week and how many of them have you bought directly from the producer. So we can see here this lovely guy who is selling sandwiches. He probably made that sandwich and he's selling it directly to you. But often you might be buying a sandwich that is being sold by a retailer, but it was actually made by a different company and delivered to them. So today, this leads us to place in the marketing mix. So we've got our 4 Ps: product, price, promotion and place. And today we're going to focus on place. We're going to look at the advantages and disadvantages of different channels of distribution, recommend and justify an appropriate distribution channel in given circumstances. So we're going to learn about the factors that go into channels of distribution, which is our place in the marketing mix. So who are our middlemen? So middlemen is a term that you're going to hear a lot in this chapter, and another term for them are intermediaries. So we have here, we have our producer, the business that makes the product, and then we also have our consumer that isn't represented on here. But here we've got a wholesaler. So a producer can sell big batches of products to a wholesaler, who will then sell it to retailers such as Welcome, who then sell it to the customers. So these wholesalers and these retailers are intermediaries, or otherwise known as middlemen. So that's a term that you might hear later on in this video. So place in the marketing mix is where we look at what's called our channels of distribution. So as a marketer, you're going to make a choice on how you actually sell your product to your consumer. So this one is where the top one is where you are the producer and you're going to sell directly to your consumer. So perhaps you're going to have your own store and you sell your products in your own store. So you're making the product and you're selling the product with that direct contact with the customer. Or it could be that you've got a website and you're going to sell directly to your consumer via the website. So good things about this is, you've got that direct contact, you can make sure the customer service is really good, etc. However, how many stores can you actually open? If you're going to be opening up stores in every area where you want to sell it, that's going to be a lot of work for you. So another option is that you produce the product and then you find a retailer that has got stores in different places, you sell in bulk to them, and then they sell to the consumer. So this is where, you might be making tins of beans, for example, and rather than opening up a bean shop, then you might contact Welcome, Park and Shop and the other supermarkets and persuade them to buy huge batches of your product and then stack them on your shelves, and the consumers buy from that retailer. Okay, and then another method is for you to sell your product to a wholesaler. So for example, like Costco, and Costco, the wholesaler, or whatever wholesaler you use, this is where the retailers go shopping. So the retailers will go to Costco, they will buy big batches of these beans, and then they would stack them on their shelves and sell them to the consumer. So as we increase the channels of distribution, increase the intermediaries, it means that as a producer, you could potentially just make one large sale to your wholesaler, which ends up selling loads and loads of tins of beans. Whereas if you're selling directly to your consumer, then you're selling one tin of beans per transaction. Okay, so this is channels of distribution, which is, the decisions on how we're going to use intermediaries here, or middlemen. Okay, so producer to consumer, so selling directly to your consumer via your own shop or your website. So what's really good about this is, you're not having to make deals with wholesalers and reducing your price to persuade them to buy it. You've got control over how it's sold, where it's stacked on the shelf. You've got the relationship with your consumers because you're seeing them in your shop. You can find out what they like and not like about your product. However, it is time consuming to open up your own shop, and you're not going to have the kind of spread across a big geographical area that you might have if you put that into your product into, say, 7-Eleven. This channel is through retailers. So for example, 7-Eleven. So you are the producer, you would sell big batches of your product to a retailer, for example, 7-Eleven. And then once you've made that sale, they can put it in all of their 7-Eleven stores, and straight away, you're going to be reaching a lot more consumers with your product. So this is really good. You can make lots more sales, reach a wider market through this. Also, 7-Eleven are going to, help with some of the marketing, because they want to make a sale of your product as well. So they can do some in-store promotion for you. However, they're probably going to cut a deal, so you're not going to be selling the beans for the same amount of money to the retailer as you'd be selling it directly to the customer. So they're going to try and get a good deal out of you, which means you reducing your prices. Also, how you've got no control then over where it's placed on the shelf, the quality of the promotion, the quality of the customer service in 7-Eleven. Okay. Using two middlemen or two intermediaries. So this is where you would use a wholesaler and a retailer. So you sell it to the wholesaler sells it to the retailers, and the retailers sell it to customers. This is where you can make a lot of sales. So you can just make one sale to the wholesaler of loads and loads of your product, and then they pass on smaller batches of your product to retailers, and then the retailer sell it to the consumer. So this is where you can get really, really wide reach. But again, the wholesaler, they're going to really try and get you to push your prices down because they need to make a markup when they sell it on to the next stage. Okay, so here are our three channels of distribution. So the difference in the price that you can charge, well, direct to the consumer, you can charge a higher price per can of beans. If you're going to sell in big batches to the wholesaler or to the retailer, they're going to ask for a lower price per can, but you're going to sell more. Which will give better customer service? Well, if you sell your own products directly to your consumer, then of course you're going to give better customer service for that product because you've got a more vested interest in that product and that relationship with that consumer. The staff in the 7-Eleven, do they care so much about your brand reputation? Perhaps not. So, better customer service directly to the consumer. How would each be promoted to the final customer? Well, the direct method, then you've got control over all of that promotion, but also you've got responsibility for it. Whereas, in 7-Eleven or Welcome or whatever, they might put point of purchase displays for your product. Which one do you use if you want to sell the most? Well, if you want to sell the most, then sell via a wholesaler, because you can just make one sale of loads and loads of your products. They take it off your hands, and then they deal with the individual customers. So definitely, higher sales if you go through your wholesalers and retailers, because they've got more stores spread out all over Hong Kong or whatever area you're looking at, and they can make more sales there. Okay, so things that what you would be considering. So how do you choose which channel that you want to use? Well, you're going to be looking at cost. So if you're going to be selling directly to the consumer, then think about the transport and the storage costs, because you're going to have to store all those products. Whereas if you sell it all to a wholesaler, then they're going to pay for the storage costs. For speed, you consider how quickly you want to sell the products. Then you're going to make a lot more sales a lot more quickly if they're in loads and loads of retailers than just in your one shop. Okay, the nature of the product, some products work online, however some don't. So perhaps if you're selling directly to your customers from a website, but it's clothing, then perhaps people can't try it on. Or perhaps the product is quite perishable, like flowers, and they need to be sold quite quickly before they go off. The market, this is the term that business people use when they describe customers. So it might be that where the customers are based. So if customers are just within a specific area, perhaps that you might open up your own store in a specific area. Or it might be that, your your target customer are people all over Hong Kong or whatever city you're working from, in which case putting it in 7-Elevens means everyone can access it easy. Now, don't forget, businesses are run by humans and we all have our own preferences. So it could be that, the owner of the business has got a real ambition to grow really quickly, in which case they might be really, really pushing for sales in that wholesaler. Or it might be that the business owner wants to have a small business, so they would prefer to open up their own store. Okay, so factors affecting choice are cost, speed, the nature of the product, the market, and the business. Okay, so to summarise, there are different channels of distribution from direct or through retailers and or wholesalers. There are benefits and drawbacks to each channel. These relate to costs and control. Factors to consider are cost, speed, nature of the product, the market, and the business itself. Okay, I will put more resources on the Google Classroom. Thank you very much.